Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Hattiesburg, An American City in Black and White, by William Sturkey. Narrated by Bill Andrew Quinn. Introduction. People of Spirit. It was a whole lot better than it is now because it's gone now. Hattiesburg native Richard Boyd, 1991. On the first weekend of every October, the old black downtown of Hattiesburg, Mississippi hosts an event called the Historic Mobile Street Renaissance Festival. By that time of year, the summer heat has faded away from southern Mississippi and left the region with clear, sunny skies and temperatures in the mid-70s. Mobile Street, a once thriving black commercial center now pockmarked with empty lots, returns to life. Festival organizers estimate that 10,000 people come to the event, an impressive number for a city of 50,000. Saturday is the busiest day. Beginning early in the morning, the day features a full slate of events, including a gospel competition, a motorcycle show, a hip-hop contest, and the ever-popular Show Enough Good Barbecue Cook-Off. All day long, representatives from local organizations and churches sell artwork, clothing, raffle tickets, and plates of food, filling the warm autumn air with the smells of pulled pork, macaroni and cheese, greens, ribs, and fried catfish. In the afternoon, blues artists infuse the festival with the sound of electric guitars and deep guttural lyrics. Kids scamper about the crowd, chasing one another between games of double dutch and turns on inflatable playgrounds. Teenagers stroll down the paved road, holding hands with sweethearts and making plans for Saturday night. Adults gather in small groups along the cracked sidewalks, laughing, sipping sweet tea, and waving at friends and neighbors. The festival draws peoples of all ages and races to eat, dance, and help celebrate the history of Hattiesburg's Mobile Street District. The weather is beautiful, the food is delicious, the music is fun, and the people are happy. A little park sits about a block south of the center of the festival. The park contains 3 benches, a handful of small trees, and a plaque commemorating the site as the former location of the Woods Guest House. Destroyed by fire in 1998, the guest house stood at 507 Mobile Street for over 70 years. The building served a variety of purposes during its time, but today it is remembered most often as the local headquarters of the 1964 Mississippi Freedom Summer, an epic statewide civil rights campaign that captured America's attention and helped black Mississippians gain the right to vote. A second sign in front of the park indicates the site's number on the Hattiesburg Freedom Summer Trail, a guided audio tour of 15 sites that were important to the civil rights movement in Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg, also known as the Hub City, abounds in civil rights history. Of over 40 Mississippi towns involved in Freedom Summer, Hattiesburg hosted the greatest number of movement volunteers, and its freedom schools boasted the largest enrollment. Black Hattiesburgers participated at rates unheard of in other places. By one estimate, over 3,000 local African Americans, about a third of the city's black population at the time, were active in the Freedom Summer. Those were powerful days in Hattiesburg. Local churches swelled with mass meetings. People who had never cast a ballot in their lives went to the courthouse to demand voter registration forms. Children as young as 8 years old wrote letters to the President of the United States demanding their freedom. Grade school dropouts helped plan an overthrow of the state Democratic Party. Regular folks turned into leaders. Some became heroes. They were, as one outsider later remembered them, people of spirit. Freedom Summer itself was merely one act in a broader local movement. Hattiesburg was active throughout the 1960s. The city's civil rights era was filled with hundreds of marches, protests, sit-ins, and boycotts, and tragically marred by arrests, beatings, and murder. Hattiesburg was the home of well-known freedom fighters such as Vernon Dahmer, Clyde Kennard, Dorian Joyce Ladner, and the indomitable Victoria Jackson Gray, who in 1964 became the first woman in Mississippi history to run for United States Senate. During the 1960s, scores of nationally known activists passed through the city. Fannie Lou Hamer, Medgar Evers, Dick Gregory, Bob Moses, and Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke at Mount Zion Baptist Church, a stop on the Hattiesburg Freedom Summer Trail, just days before he was assassinated in Memphis. The movement is etched in local lore. Locals know this history well, and they're proud of it. But it is not the history of the movement that draws people to Mobile Street every October. Scattered among the crowd at the historic Mobile Street Renaissance Festival are dozens of elderly African Americans who grew up in the neighborhood. They started this event, and the day truly belongs to them. They seem to appreciate the celebration more than most. These men and women came of age during a time when black residents could not live, shop, or eat in other parts of town. Back then, the old black neighborhood was filled with homes, offices, drugstores, groceries, ice cream parlors, barber shops, dance halls, and restaurants. Back then, Mobile Street was not as empty as it is today. Standing among the vacant lots and crumbling buildings, the elders share memories from that bygone era. They reconstruct Mobile Street as it once was, pointing out where the old store stood and exchanging stories of the people who lived and worked in the neighborhood. They recall buying sodas at Dr. Hammond Smith's drugstore, working at Mrs. McLaurin's newsstand, or running errands for Mrs. Woods. The Smith drugstore is closed, but the building remains for now. The same cannot be said of Mrs. McLaurin's newsstand. Like the Woods guest house and so many others, it too is gone. All that remains of these vanished structures are slabs of concrete or piles of brick. Having worked so courageously during the civil rights movement to break down racial barriers, many of those elderly storytellers are local legends. Yet most of them agree that something was actually lost in those epic victories. Jim Crow had to go. There was no question about that. It was a horribly unjust society, and no one yearns for the ways black people were treated back then. But many of the elders also radiate a palpable nostalgia as they describe the old community. Through tear-streaked smiles, they recall the old community, carefully explaining that the neighborhood did not always look so decayed or feel so barren. The Mobile Street that these older folk knew once bustled with vibrant individuals and institutions. Their recollections reveal to younger folk that earlier generations of black people had built something special there, even within the constraints of Jim Crow. Once upon a time, Mobile Street had a soul. Established in 1880, Hattiesburg was a quintessential town of the New South that emerged after Reconstruction. Railroads, the definitive industrial mechanisms of post-Civil War Southern modernization, changed the nature of Southern life, opening Dixie's interior for rapid development and creating new jobs that brought people to places like Hattiesburg. Teeming with railroad tracks, sawmills, manufacturing shops, and rising downtowns, this New South offered unprecedented industrial opportunities for a historically agrarian population. Most Southerners remained in the countryside, but hundreds of thousands of others abandoned their ancestors' agricultural dreams in search of fresh opportunities. White Southerners, their society defeated and upended, arrived in the developing towns hoping for renewed stability, better economic prospects, and an expansion of a racial order that protected and enhanced white supremacy. The white architects of the society developed Jim Crow in the subsequent transition from antebellum to modern. Racial segregation laws were pioneered on the railroads, and lynchings increased as the cities grew. To restore control, the white leaders of this New South institutionalized laws designed to consolidate opportunity and power, barring African Americans from full citizenship with new legislation that eliminated constitutional rights, limited access to public spaces, and restricted employment and educational opportunities. These laws were backed by fierce violence and humiliating customs of racial deference. Segregation, lynching, and exclusion cast long shadows over black freedom as African Americans were ferociously blocked from the finest promises of the New South. But thousands of former black slaves and their children also came to the cities, desperate to flee the farms where their ancestors had toiled. They too took the new jobs and converged in the growing urban spaces. Racial segregation limited their prospects in every walk of life, but also helped form remarkable communities like the one that developed in Hattiesburg's Mobile Street neighborhood. The nature of Jim Crow knit African Americans into tight, self-reliant groups that struggled together in their churches, businesses, and schools to insulate themselves from the horrors of racial oppression.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?